Welcome to YLAT Chat. I'm Elijah.
And I'm Cave, and today we're going to be talking about strategic sharing. We are both ambassadors from YLAT. You might be wondering, why is strategic sharing so important? Well, many of us have personal stories, and especially stories connected to foster care, family, trauma, or life challenges. These stories matter, and sharing them can inspire change, build connections, and help others feel less alone.
Strategic sharing is used, and it's a method that allows us to safely and effectively share our stories and our personal experiences that keeps us in control of the situation and keeps us in the driver's seat. I personally love using strategic sharing just in day-to-day life and when I'm talking to people, whether I know them well or am just meeting them.
I can agree with what Elijah said. I use a strategic strategy in my daily life, and especially when it comes to like advocating and being an ambassador for YLAT, because I've spoken on like panels before, and strategic sharing really gave me an opportunity to use my voice safely and comfortably. I was able to share the parts of my stories that what I really wanted to get across without sharing too much about me. I use like when I'm talking to my teachers about like assignments, like I could tell my teacher like I was up all night procrastinating my assignment, or I could give them like an easier way of being like, oh, I was really stressed about it, which I was, and that's why I was procrastinating, but I didn't have to get into what I was doing when I was procrastinating. And another example I can think of is like when I'm talking to my friends, because I'm open about being that I was in foster care, but I don't really like telling everyone everything about experience in foster care. So I'll be like, oh, I'll tell them snippets about my story that I feel comfortable with. And that's how I use it other ways in my personal life.
Yeah, we don't just use strategic sharing in community spaces like YLAT. We also use it every day, whether we're talking to our family members, our friends, or in a more professional setting like a job interview or talking to a teacher or professor. And this really allows us to just feel comfortable in any situation and be able to use that tool to get our point across and maybe even encourage others or inspire them with our own stories. One tool that we use when strategic sharing is zones of comfortability. And this kind of looks like a stoplight where there's green, yellow, and red. And this is just a way for us to gauge our comfortability in a situation and know when to use strategic sharing and maybe when to say that you're not comfortable with sharing. And these will look like if you're comfortable, you're relaxed, you're not really nervous. If maybe you're starting to get a little uneasy or you feel stretched, maybe this is when you lean more on your strategic sharing skills. And if you're uncomfortable, your palms are sweaty, you feel your stomach start to hurt, or you just are not in a space where you can share, maybe that's when you say, "Oh, I'm not really comfortable sharing that."
Another thing that I use to understand when I'm feel like when is it time to share my story is something I like to do is like think of like what's the tone of the room, like does it feel serious, casual, or tense? Because if the room is like funny, joking, it might not be like a right time to share something like deep, because like that could just like make others uncomfortable like with the sudden story. But also if it's like a room where it's like more comfortable for like those type of stories, it will make me feel like more comfortable to open up. Like let's say sharing a deep story for class, that would put me in the red zone, because like it's a class setting, like I don't really know people that well, and so I would feel like more in the red zone for it. But like speaking with like a fellow YLAT member, I would be in my green zone because I know I feel comfortable with that stuff. And it's really just really understanding like where you fit on that. And also it's good to think about it as a gradient because you can feel like comfortable talking about the story sometimes and not, even if it's with the same people. Like you could wake up one morning and feel grouchy, so you don't feel like saying that story. Like there's multiple things that play in part of it.
We can use strategic sharing not only in our conversations or how we feel, but also reading the room and seeing how everyone else feels. Like Cave was talking about, a lot of how we share depends on what the situation is. Is it a silly mood? Is it a serious mood? And what the context of the situation is. We can use strategic sharing to read other people's body language, their eye contact, and really those signals that tell us when is it appropriate to share and how much is appropriate to share. I've been in times where I may be overshared and I could see the person getting a little bit uncomfortable, or maybe they were really wanting me to go deeper and I was kind of just surface level with my answers. And then I also felt that I should share more. So it really depends on the situation.
So another important fact about strategic sharing is detouring. Detours isn't a way to hide your story, but rather to honor your boundaries. For me personally, I have been in situations where the conversation was getting a little too uncomfortable, and some of the ways that I have detoured was like turning the conversation around. Like, I'd be like, oh, I don't know about that, but I heard your mom got a new job, or did you cut your hair? Just like something to change the flow, like turn it on them instead. Because something I've noticed is like people kind of like sharing things about themselves, either being their hobbies, their traits. It's just an easy way to like flow the conversation elsewhere.
Yeah, I think detours are a great way to reroute the conversation or even backpedal if you think that you've gone too far or overshared. One thing that I like to say is, oh, it's a long story, or um, maybe like Cave said, like turn it back on the other person or talk about similar interests like a sports team or recent event that happened. And detours are just a great tool to use, whether you don't feel comfortable or maybe you've just gone on too long and need to backpedal.
As like sometimes for detours, you just need to straight up set your boundaries, and you're really honoring yourself by doing so.
Yeah, you don't always need a witty detour or a way to reroute the conversation. Sometimes it's important to just say, I'm not comfortable saying that, or I'm not feeling comfortable in this conversation. And like Cave said, really set that boundary.
You could even do it in a funny way, like saying something like, "Not even my mom asks me that," because like, who's gonna think of a comeback for that? Like, oh, like there's like ways to do it throughout. Like you can be serious, you can be funny, you can be casual, regardless of the tone of the conversation. There's always a detour. Thank you for coming to our first YLAT chat. We really appreciate you taking your time and day to watch this video. Feel free to comment below on what you think of the video and future ideas.
And also feel free to check out our other accounts at Instagram, Facebook, and our website at ylat.org.